How long? How long?
30 minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you. It is a privilege to be here, and I very much appreciate the opportunity. She kind of told you everything about me. There's really not much else for me to say here. But it is a privilege to be here, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is a passion of mine. And that's one of the things that I think is really important to understand. It's not really my primary business, but it's something that I believe in so much, because one of the things we need to understand is we don't live in the happy days world anymore. Would everybody agree with that? You know, this isn't Mayberry, unfortunately. And the world that you and I grew up in, it breaks my heart that my kids aren't going to get to grow up in that world. You know, they can't even play out in the front yard by themselves without you being out there and watching them now. And that's just the reality. And so because of that, we've got to learn differently. But before I get into all that, let's talk a little bit about who I am. I am an NRA certified instructor. I'm certified by DPS to teach concealed handgun license, martial arts and self-defense instructor for over 30 years. But the most important things about me is that I'm married, the husband of my beautiful wife Pam, and I am the father of 4 children. I've been married for 37 years, and I loved what the lady said to the same woman. You know, because a lot of people have been married a long time, but they've had 3 or 4 or 5 wives or husbands along the way. You know, and so we've been together for a long time. That's really important to me. I have 3 granddaughters who are the joy and pride of my life. And this is a picture, well, I've been a minister for 35 years as well. Here's a picture of me and my wife. We were on vacation last summer. I want you to know she's real. I do have a wife. John sometimes said, I have never met her, you know. Are you sure you're just making her up or something? And here's my little granddaughters. And I wanted to put that up there because I wanted you to know I'm just like you, okay? Because sometimes when people come up and they talk about this martial artist or this concealed handgun instructor, and all of a sudden we begin to conjure up visions of this guy running around in his pajamas doing backflips and, you know, walking around with that gun on and everything like sometimes we see. And that's not what it's all about at all. It's just the fact that I've made a decision that I'm not going to be a victim. And that's one of the things that I'm going to challenge you to do today, is to make a decision not to be a victim. But you're going to have to make that decision consciously. We don't live in the happy days era anymore, and so we're going to have to live differently. And the world that we live in is so much different than what we grew up. And all we have to do is turn on the TV, we listen to the radio, and it's happening everywhere. It doesn't matter. This nice little bedroom community of tomballs growing, you know, and it's not the same world that, you know, you grew up in that you've talked about before. And just what, 2 weeks ago, major home invasion right here. You know, and the police officer said this wasn't a drug deal. This wasn't a divorce where somebody was fighting. It was a random home invasion. They had picked this house for no other reason. So what does that mean to us? It could have been your house. I live in Huntsville. I have a ranch in Huntsville. And last summer, the headlines in the paper for 3 days in a row were home invasions, broad daylight, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I don't want us to be deceived thinking, well, we live in a little town. That only happens down the road in the big city. It doesn't matter if you live on the east side of the tracks or the west side of the tracks. The world that we live in has changed, and so we have to change with it. And one of the things I think particularly at risk are women. A few statistics I'll give you. Old people are more subject to being attacked or robbed than young people are. Women are more likely to be attacked than men. Women with long hair are more subject to be attacked than women with short hair. Anybody know why? It's a control feature. They can grab a hold of that hair.
But you can slop down on that hand and go.
That's right. There are things that you can do, okay? If you are, short people are attacked more than tall people. If you have a disability of some sort, then you're subject to being attacked, you know, at a much higher risk there. And so these are things that when we're armed with this knowledge, it helps us to prepare. Now, don't cut your hair. Just get a gun, okay? Because I really like long hair, all right? But there are things that we can do to protect ourselves. And so why self-defense is so important? It's important because statistics say that all women, and it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, anything, single, married, all women are good candidates to become victims of violent crime at any point in their lives. As a matter of fact, according to statistics, a woman who is only 21 years of age has a 25% chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime in her lifetime. So look at the person to the left of you. Look at the person to the right, the person behind you. One of you has a very good chance you're probably going to become a victim of some type of violent crime in your life. And so again, this is the world that we live in. This is why we've got to make some changes. Self-defense is more than just okay. All right? It's really the most ethical thing that you can do. If you want to protect yourself and your family, and we're doing our business, we have businesses we're running, we have children we're taking care of, we're going to daycare centers, we're going to showings, we're doing all kinds of things. And when you're out there, you're going to have to change the way that you used to live if we want to be safe. And that involves making this conscious decision to do that. And so one of the things that we can do is avoid confrontation. If we can avoid that situation, avoid dangerous situations, then that's what we want to do. So when we're in the public arena, one of the things that we need to do is we're going to have to work on our situational awareness skills. In other words, you're going to have to become more aware of your surroundings. We need to walk with our head up. It needs to be on a swivel. We're going to start paying attention to things. And that involves things like when you leave the grocery store and you're going to your car, pay attention to those other cars around you. If there's somebody sitting in a vehicle, don't go. Wait until somebody else is there that can walk with you. Go back in, get a manager, a security guard, but don't take those chances. You're going to be shocked at how many times people get jacked up just carrying their groceries to the car in Walmart parking lot or something like that. Other things, don't walk. If I park in this aisle right here, I don't walk down that aisle. And the other thing for sure I don't do is when I forget where I parked my car, I hold up my keys and I start honking. All you're doing is telling everybody exactly where you're going then, okay? There are things, and we'll get into some of this a little bit more in a few minutes, but when you pump gas, one of the things that particularly women are at risk here, and a lot of you do it, you're going to pull up to the gas station, your purse is sitting in the passenger seat, you'll reach over, you'll take that one credit card out, then you walk over and you put it in the gas pump, and I have a video that sometimes I show. A car pulls up right beside yours, the doors are unlocked, they open the door, grab your purse, and they take off. Gone in 4 seconds. And you don't even miss it, okay? But even more dangerous than that, what they're doing right here in this Houston metropolitan area now is they are getting in the back seat, laying in the floorboard, and waiting until you drive off. And then when you get away, then they're attacking and doing whatever it is that they want. We have to pay more attention to our surroundings. Lock those doors when you get in. Lock the doors when you get out. Another big thing is stay off the stupid cell phones. This is a real pet peeve of mine. When you're in a public arena, when you're walking around, when you're talking on that cell phone, you're distracted. You can't be as aware of your surroundings as you are. Wait until you get to the safety of your car. That phone call's not that important. They will call back, okay? Or you can call them back. We've all got voicemails. They will leave a message if it's really important, and then you can call them back. And so that's just the things that we've got to do, but we've got to pay better attention to our surroundings, okay? When we go into a public building, we need to pay attention. Where are the exits? One of the things when I walked in here is I wanted to know where the exits were immediately. Why? Because if something happens in here, I want to know how to get out. And it may not be a physical confrontation. What if there's a fire? And the door that you came in may not be the door that you want to go out. A few years ago, there was a huge concert, 20,000 people in this arena, and they're sitting there, and one fellow looked at the other, and he goes, I see some smoke back there behind them curtains. I think there's a problem. The guy said, no, that's just all part of the show. A little bit later, he saw some flames, and he goes, no, I think there's a fire. I think there's really a problem. He said, man, I can't take you anywhere. Why don't you lighten up, enjoy the concert? It's just part of the show. Well, a few minutes later, all those curtains behind the stage were completely engulfed in flames, and everybody realized there was a problem. So 20,000 people are all of a sudden in mass chaos and panic, and they're trying to get out. And where did they all go? The door they came in. 6 people got trampled to death. They didn't die in the fire. They died in the chaos afterwards. So that's why when you go into a public building, when you're in a public arena, we've got to pay attention to things like the exit, so that if something happens, then you know how to take your family and where you're going to go and where you're going to get out. We've talked about the driving. What about when you're driving down the road? This is another problem. You pull up and there's a stoplight and everybody pulls up, and what do we all do? We pull right up on the bumper in front of that car in front of us. Do you realize you're pinned in then? One of the best safety tips that you can do is leave some space between you and the car in front of you. How much space do you need to leave? Well, if you can see their rear tires touching the ground, then you've got enough room to maneuver your vehicle out of the way should there be a problem there. And these are just little tips. When your doors are locked, carjackings. We had 4 carjackings on 1960 on a Saturday afternoon just a few weeks ago, broad daylight. So this is why you've got to constantly be vigilant in paying attention. And it's all kind of like defensive driving. How many of you have taken a defensive driving class? Look at all these heathen in here. A bunch of speeders. You took it for your insurance, right? So did I the first time, okay? What do they teach you in defensive driving? They tell you to watch 2-3 car lengths ahead, right? Because when you see those brake lights up there, that's a preemptive indicator. That's your first indication that there could be a problem up there. And so when we see those brake lights, we begin to develop a plan. What's the plan? Well, plan A might mean I'm going to check my left mirror. If that lane's clear, I'm going to move over into that lane. Plan B is I'll check my right mirror. If that lane's clear, I'll move over there. Plan C might mean I'm going to slam on the brakes and hope for the best, you know. But at least I've got a plan. And what usually happens, it's just some idiot up in front of you riding their brakes and there isn't anything there. But you were prepared should there have been something. And we do this automatically without thinking. Why? Because we've trained ourselves to do that. We'll be texting, carrying on a conversation with somebody, listening to the radio, whatever it is you do when you're driving down the road. But we've trained ourselves that we can multitask and do those things without any thinking because it's become part of who and what we are. And that's the way you've got to live anytime you're out in the public arena like that. That head needs to be up. We're going to be aware of our surroundings. We're going to watch and be prepared for those things. We're going to use good judgment with regard to known dangerous situations. The best way to not have a confrontation is to not be there. Don't go to dangerous places. I don't go to Guns Point Mall. Okay? I mean, it's known. That's what we call it, right? But if you've been watching the news the last few weeks about Willowbrook, they're being jacked up down there every day. There isn't a safe area. And so as much as you can, we're going to avoid those situations. Don't go by yourself. Don't go at night. Don't pump gas at night, ladies. I got so aggravated at my wife. We went to a party. I had been working, so I met her there. We left the party about 11:30, and she said, "I've got to get gas." I said, "You're kidding. You're going to pull into a dark gas station at 11:30 at night and pump gas?" You know, you can do that in the daytime. And by the way, a little tip, the car runs just as well on the top half of the tank as it does the bottom half. You don't have to run it all the way to empty before you fill it up, okay? Every vehicle, I have 4 children, and when they were all at home, it didn't matter what car I went and got in, it was on empty. It was just a guarantee. You know, "Dad, can I take your truck?" "Yeah, why?" "You're out of gas, aren't you?" "Yeah." You know? And so these are just little things that if you just start thinking of, it's going to help you to be safe in this society. So if those are dangerous places, don't go there. The FBI came out with the top 10 most dangerous places in America. You want to know what they were? Number 1 on the list, a place you can go in any city, USA, on any given night. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be a confrontation, some kind of, where? A bar, a nightclub. Number 2 on the list, professional sporting events. On average, at any given NFL game, there are 7 physical altercations. Professional stadiums today all have jails in their facilities. They build them with that. They plan on it because they know that that's a problem. Number 5 on the list is my favorite, family reunions. If you like those people, you would see them more often than every couple of years, right? But what do all of these things have in common? You got a group of people, high emotion, and then we add that international lubricant alcohol in there, and you've got a recipe for disaster. So we're going to avoid those situations as much as we can. Other dangerous places, car washes, especially the self-serve, okay? Red boxes. Anybody go to Red Box? You go up there and you're trying to pick out that perfect movie for date night, and all of your attention's focused. I pulled up to a red box last summer. There was this girl, I was going to Walgreens to get a prescription filled, and it was parked right there by the red box. This girl there, 20-something years old, had Juicy written on her shorts. I pull in behind her. She never looks around. I get out. I slam the truck door. She never looks around. I walk up and I lean on the front of my truck with the most perverted look I could muster, just staring at her. She never knew I was there. And unfortunately, that's how most people live in this society today. And we can't do that. You've got to pay more attention, okay? So let's just not be there. That's the best thing that we can do. We're being watched. You need to understand the points about time and distance. How many times have you been pumping gas and you're sitting there thinking, man, what am I going to cook for supper when I get home? And Sally's got to get that, I got to get that cheerleading uniform washed. And all of a sudden this guy goes, hey, can you loan me a few dollars? And you're going, crap, where'd he come from? Well, he didn't come out of nowhere. You weren't paying attention.
Also, they have those little videos now that you can watch. They're
Yeah,
really trying to keep
and that
you-
distracts you even more.
Yes.
I don't want to be pinned in between my truck and that pump. I start the fuel, and then I back up behind my truck where I have a good clear field of vision, and I can see, because time and distance are your friend. The more distance you have, the more time you have to react, all right? And so those are just little things, and we get into those a lot deeper when we're in there. Disengagement techniques. We live down here, there are panhandlers everywhere, all right? I call them panhandlers/criminals because they do get violent if they don't get what they want. When they start approaching you, don't let them. I'm sorry, I can't help you, sir. Stay away from me, okay? Now, I did several things there. What did I do? One, I got off that X. I see this panhandler coming at me here, but there's something that I know. They run in groups. There are always going to be multiple assailants. Carjackings, home invasions, robberies, burglaries. FBI statistics say there will be between 2 and 7. So if I see this one, I know there's another. Maybe it's a point of convergence. You come at him here, I'll come at him here. So I'm getting off that X. I'm disrupting. I looked around, you see, because I want to see where his buddies are. Maybe I'm going to look for concealment or cover, something I can get my back up against. But I'm watching them. Stay away from me. We live in the most culturally diverse society in America. Did you realize that? There are a lot of people who don't speak English. But everybody understands what this means. Stop. I can't help you. Stay away from me. And so by my posture, my tone of voice when we do this, that's going to slow them down. It also is going to draw attention. If you're in the parking lot coming out of the mall and somebody approaches you that you don't feel comfortable and you start shouting, stay away from me, I can't help you, then that's going to draw attention to it. So these are just little things that you need to do to make yourself aware of your surroundings and help to maintain that time and distance.
That actually happened to me last week in HB parking lot here in Tomball. I was walking to my car with my groceries, and this guy started coming up to me. And I knew he wasn't going to the grocery store. It just looked like he was going to the grocery store. And he come up to me, and he started talking, and I immediately put my hand up and turned away. He started screaming at me, and I'm sitting there going, oh, crap, what am I doing now? So I immediately got in the car and called the cops, and they came out. But it was like, he was gone. I tried to watch him to see, but he was gone before.
Was it at HEB?
Huh?
At HEB?
HEB right here in the
That happened to Pam, our coworker.
Yeah.
Guy came up to her and said things, said he was, just needed $5 for gas. I don't need any conversation. She's like, here, take it. She whatever, she took off, and then she watched him go to another car.
It's happening everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. And the only way you can protect yourself is to be aware. You've got to watch that. You've got to maintain that time and distance. Okay, time's getting away. So we've developed layers of response. Non-attendance. That's the first layer of protection. Don't be there. Don't go to dangerous situations. Don't put yourself in those situations if you can avoid it. Functional invisibility. I want to blend in. I don't want to stand out. I don't wear a lot of fancy jewelry. I don't want to do things. We went on vacation to Jamaica. That's where that picture was taken. And we took a couple little excursions. And one of them, there was this guy, and he had the gold watches and the chains and the rings on. And every time we got off that bus, the locals just crowded to him. And I looked at my wife and I said, I'm so glad he's with us. She said, why? I said, they're not bothering me. They're all going to him. And that's what you want. You want to blend in there. Deselection. I've taught self-defense for 35 years. They're predators. You're food. You want to look less appetizing. How do you do that? You carry your shoulders back, your head's up, it's on a swivel. You don't look like a victim. I never could understand how a woman could be raped and not identify her rapist until I began to understand, because that's kind of an up close and personal encounter, okay? But when I began to understand the psychology, a woman doesn't look at a man. If a man is approaching you in the public, think about it. What do? We get interested in our cell phones, we dig in our purse, we look down, because we don't want to encourage any unwanted attention. And that's the worst thing that you can do, because it's not about sex, it's about power. And when you look away, then they think, oh, I've got her, okay? And what you need to do is you need to look them right in the eye and you tell them, hi, how are you? And she's acknowledged my presence now. I know she can identify me. She's carrying herself very confidently. You know, she's going to be too much trouble. I'm going to go bother somebody else. That's fine. Just leave me alone. That's what I want. And this is that attitude that we've got to have. Disengagement techniques, we've talked about some of those. Here's the big thing. You've got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you've planned to fail. If you haven't thought about these things and how to protect yourself and your family, then you're asking for problem. Mental states of mind. There are several here. Most of us walk around in our white state. Our head's in the clouds, we're texting, we're talking on the phone, we're falling into manholes, we're not paying any attention to what we're doing, and we've got this big sign that says, I'm a victim, come and attack me. All right? What we want to do is we want to be in a yellow state. We're relaxed, but we're alert. You know, I'm not paranoid, but my head's up. I'm paying attention to what I'm seeing. I'm watching what's going on. Red or orange, there's something appears to be wrong. That's those brake lights up ahead. So there's a warning, a preemptive indicator. So I'm going to start preparing myself. Red, there's an apparent threat. Now there's a problem. This is real, okay? And then black is extreme panic. The quickest way to get to black is straight from here at the white. We're in the white zone, we're not paying attention, something hits us in the face, we don't have a plan, and all of a sudden we got one of those oh crap moments. What do I do? Where you froze, okay? Let's talk about the dynamics of an attack. Most of us sitting here right now have an average resting heart rate of about 60 to 80 beats a minute. With just a little bit of stress, that heart rate can get up to about 115 beats a minute. Do you understand that as your heart rate increases, there are physiological things that take place in your body? Loss of fine motor skills, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion. We've all seen the woman in the movie running from the bad guy and she can't get the keys in the car. Why? You do that numerous times, but her heart rate's up and all of a sudden she can't do those little things with her fingers right then. Then as you continue on up at 155, your complex motor skills begin to deteriorate. You get a little higher, your cognitive processing begins to deteriorate. What's that? Your ability to formulate and make a plan. My middle son, when he was 16 months old, was diagnosed with diabetes. So we began to give him shots. And so we're driving home one day from church, and we realized he was going into an insulin reaction. His blood sugar was dropping, so we rushed in the house, set him on the counter. I'm trying to pour some orange juice or milk in him to raise that blood sugar. His eyes roll back in his head, and he passes out. So they had given us a glucagon shot. Come in 2 vials. One was liquid, one was a powder, and you had a syringe. You take the liquid out, you put it in the powder, shake it up, mix it up, then you draw that out. It's basically sugar water that elevates their sugar. You give them the shot. My wife, who's a lot more intelligent than me, she tests way up there on the gifted level, okay? She's sitting here looking at these 2 vials. She goes, how do I get the powder in the liquid? How do I get the powder in the liquid? What was the problem? Her heart rate's beating up here about 180, 200 beats a minute. This had never happened to us before. This was the first time. We hadn't been there. She wasn't able to cognitively process all of this and make a plan. Do you understand? That's what's going to happen when you're attacked. You're not going to pull super ninja skills out of your rear if you don't have any training, all right? You're not going to become this super sniper if you don't have any. We don't rise to the occasion. We default to the training that we have. And if you have no training, you have nothing to default to, all right? So that's why it's so important to be prepared. When you get up above 175, you'll get that irrational fighting or fleeing, that freezing, that submissive behavior. If you ever felt like you were so scared you couldn't move, your feet were in cement, you know, this is what happens there. There'll be avoiding of bladder and valves. You might pee on yourself and you can't control it. It happens all the time. People in combat, law enforcement, when they're going through that, those are the real things. And this is your body just shutting down, going into that fight or flight mode. So what can we do? Real quick, civilian force options, mental awareness, decision avoidance, being aware of your surroundings, not putting yourself in those situations. Those are the things that we can do. Verbalization skills. Don't be afraid. Stop! Stay away from me. I can't help you. You know, that's going to help you in that situation. Physical force. I don't want you ladies to underestimate your ability to defend yourself physically. You know, if you, with just a little bit of training, pressure points, soft tissue areas, there are things that you can do. Have you ever grabbed the inside right there in your arm and pinched? A lot of nerve endings in there. What about inside the thighs? Somebody grabs you, your arms are down here. If you can grab that inside there and pinch that, you know, and we all know where to hit a man to bring him to his knees. You drive that heel down his shin. You know, there's lots of things like that that you can do. So don't underestimate yourself, your ability to defend yourself physically. And then there are the hands. And this is important. One of the things I want you to leave here today with is when you're in the public arena, the first thing that you need to be looking at is somebody's hands. When somebody's approaching you, pay attention to the hands. Why? The hands are what are going to kill you. Why do the police go, show me your hands, show me your hands? Because they understand the hands are what are going to hurt you. When you're in the public arena, you constantly need to be watching. If somebody's walking up to you and they've got their hands in their pocket, they're a greater threat. What do I have in my pocket? You don't know, but I could have a weapon in there, all right? So we're going to watch the hands. That's critical. You've got to watch the hands because that's what's going to hurt you. Intermediate weapons. So let's say you're out, and we don't have a gun. Now I'm going to encourage everybody to become armed. That is Smith & Wesson, they're the great equalizers, okay? Doesn't matter how big, how many there are. But if you don't have that, there are other things that you can do. So if you were being attacked, you were in a restaurant, you were coming home, whatever, well, think about some of the things that you could use. Everybody knows about your keys. By the way, that little panic button on there is a very good defensive tool. You hear some noise outside, keep your keys by your bed. You hear some noise, you think somebody's outside your house, you hit that panic button and that starts going off. That's a good. But we all know how to use the keys in our hands, to use those as a weapon. What about this? Does anybody know what this is? It's a Kubaton. It's basically just a stick, but it's a sharp stick. And there in the martial arts, there's things that you can learn to do. But with no training at all, could I use this as an effective weapon? Soft tissue areas. Bony cartilage areas in the ribs in here, this is very painful, okay? So there's things like this. What about pepper spray? Anybody carry pepper spray? I know a couple of you do. Somebody asked how long it left. Get you a good quality pepper spray. This is Fox Mean Green. Don't buy the stuff you get at the convenience store at the checkout, all right? That's just a condiment. They'll just lick that and say, you got any more, all right? This is very potent. It has a green dye in it. You want the stream. Don't buy the spray or the fog. If the wind's blowing, you're going to get it all back in your face. So you get that stream, and then when you hit them with it, you spray all over their face and all over their shirt. Why? What's the first thing you do when you get something in your face? You pick up your shirt to wipe it off, and all he's going to be doing is rubbing it around. This has a green dye in it, so that when he runs off and the cops come, you can say it's the green guy running around the parking lot, okay?
Where do you get that at?
You can buy this online. You can get it at gun stores, Gander Mountain and places like that probably will have it. Fox Labs, Mean Green. It's a pepper spray. You want a high quality of that. And it'll last for quite a while if you keep it pretty temperature controlled. But here's the cool thing. You all will appreciate this as ladies. This is oil-based. It's water reactivates it. What's the first thing he's going to do when he gets home? He's going to want to wash it off. The water's going to reactivate it, and it runs downhill. Okay? A little bit of satisfaction you get out of that, all right? So these are just things that you can do. What about my hairbrush? Could this be a good defensive weapon? Yeah, especially mine. Okay? You know, these are tools that you can have there. How many of you carry a flashlight? Everybody needs to carry a good quality flashlight. Can you use this as a weapon to strike or to hit with? What are y'all seeing right now? Okay, I stopped one evening. I was pulling into James Coney Island. They had 69-cent hot dogs, you know. My wife wasn't with me. She don't let me eat that crap. So, what she doesn't know won't hurt her. So I pull in there, and about that time, here comes the panhandler walking towards me. Oh, man. I said, well, we teach this stuff. Let's see if it works. So I got out and said, I can't help you. Crap, what's wrong with you, man? You're crazy? And he went walking off. Who do you think I was? Cop, right? Because we have the mistaken notion that only cops can carry bright flashlights. This is LED. There's smaller ones. It doesn't have to be big. This is 160 lumens. You remember the big mag lights, big 3 or 5 cell? They were 80 lumens. Much more powerful here. You can carry it in your purse, put on. This is very effective. A knife. You can carry a knife. I encourage my daughter, my wife, they carry a knife. It needs to be something that can be opened with one hand. Okay? Something quick. Nothing fancy. They don't have to be big. But you're going to find all kinds of uses for a knife. But those are just things that you can do to prepare yourself. And we need to hurry along here. How much time have I got here? All right, 30 minutes and 50 seconds, so I've went over. And then there's deadly force, the gun, and really the knife would fall into that. So what are some takeaways? Make a decision. That's the big thing. Make a decision today that I'm not going to be a victim. And then go about and prepare yourself and your family. Have a plan. Make sure your family knows your plan. Get trained. This isn't rocket science, but if we can just be aware and pay attention to these things and think about these things before they happen, then you're going to be better equipped to prepare them. I'd love to work with any of you if you have any questions, if you want to get trained, if you want to get your concealed handgun license, you want to learn how to use some of these things. That's what my partner and I, John, I didn't introduce him. This is John Sheffield, one of my business partners over here. This is what we do all of the time. So I have business cards for you. I'll give you, if there's ever anything I can do, don't hesitate to give me a call, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So many people, and I think I may fit into this category too, and I have my CHL, but I think I would hesitate to shoot another human being.
I'm a preacher, and sometimes people say, how can you shoot? How can you kill somebody? I thought you were a preacher. I thought your job is to save people, not take them out. I said, I'm not killing anybody. I'm not taking anybody's life. I'm protecting mine and my family. Do you understand the difference? It's a mindset. I don't put this on in the morning and say, I'm locked and loaded and ready for bear. Anybody messes with me, I'll pop a cap. I put it on in the morning and I pray it stays there all day long. But by the same token, I will not be a victim.
Statistics show that most of the time when a homeowner or a person has a gun, it is taken away from them and used against them.
And the reason is because they're not trained. That won't happen in my class, because one of the first things I'm going to tell you is I don't want any mistaken notions. Just because you get that little piece of plastic that says you've got a concealed handgun license and you have a weapon on doesn't mean you're ready to protect yourself or you're going to be able to. This is the first step in a journey, okay? There are 5 levels of competency. Level 1's the intentionally incompetent. And that's where all the liberals, I didn't say that. I'm not politically correct. But those are people who say, we don't need guns, we've got a civilized society, we have law enforcement officers, why do I need to protect myself? And they just bury their hands and they're not willing to do anything about it. They basically have a big sign on them that says, I'm going to be a victim, come and get me. Level 2 is the consciously incompetent. I realize, hey, we live in a different world. I need to do something to protect me and my family, and I'm going to take whatever action it takes to prepare myself to do that. That's where I hope that all of us are. And then we're going to get to level 5, which is the unconsciously competent. And that's where when we are faced with a situation, we don't have to think about it, it's reaction. Okay? Bad guy comes, boom, boom, I'm drawing that gun, we take out the bad guy, and you won't even remember opening your vest, you won't remember drawing your weapon, okay? Because you've trained and it's just become a reaction. And so that's where we're headed. You're not there, you have to start somewhere. But the thing is to start, to make that decision, okay? Because this is the world that we live in. And it's fun. And it's a great family exercise. When you go shoot, you can go shoot, you can train with your family. It doesn't cost a lot, and everybody enjoys it, and you're getting some benefit out of it.
Where do you teach your classes?
We have a concierge service. We do it all over. So we just let us know we're doing a class next Sunday over here off Magnolia at the Umami Grill. We have a large class there, and we do them all over. So if you're business, we do a lot of work with realtors. My best friend's mom, when I was 14, was a realtor, and she was murdered on a showing. And so I've got a real soft spot in there, and so we go to a lot of realtor agencies, and we do a lot of classes, and we'll gather them all up. If you're going to do your office, your family, you get a few people together, give us a call. We'll do a private class, and then we've got public ones that we can plug you into if there's just you or somebody. But it's more than just a concealed handgun class. And I'll be honest, the reason I taught did handgun training and things like that for years, but I wasn't a certified instructor with the Department of Public Safety. But I have another business that I was working with these classes, and I would go into them, and one, they didn't know how to teach. Two, they didn't know what they were doing, and they were just giving them enough information to go and get their license. And I thought, what a disservice, you know, because these people are walking out of here thinking, I got a piece of plastic, I got a gun, I'm ready. And they're setting them up for failure. I don't do that, okay? I teach you to avoid that if we can. I don't go anywhere with my gun that I wouldn't go without it. Just a rule of thumb.
I'm just curious, what do you think about the new proposition of having concealed weapons, guns on college campuses?
I'm all for it.
You're all for it?
All for it. Because who are we giving it to? They're 21 years old. They haven't got any felony convictions, no Class A or B misdemeanors in the last 5 years. They've got some maturity. We're not giving it to the high school kids coming on there, and that's what everybody wants you to think. There have been numerous situations where there have been attacks in places like that where somebody has been able to retrieve their weapon and has stopped it. Now, those don't make the news media because it doesn't fit their agenda. You know, all we hear about is when the people are attacked. But if they have that ability to defend themselves, it happens all the time. We can tell you story after story where people have been able to save their life and their family. Any other questions? I'll stay around after. I know you got jobs, businesses, and need to go. So anything I can do. And I appreciate, great audience. You all listen so well, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.